Welcome back, everybody. So let's finish this garbage. Uh, See, Michael Tsarion has always been this. I think he has some identity issue going on with him, deep down, to be honest. And he tried to be more Irish and tried to reject his Nepalese or Eastern background by bashing it. Like there's this thing with latent homosexual, when there's some latent homosexual or closet homosexual and they're hiding their homosexuality and they get caught into the action sometimes, or they want to convince other people that they are not that. So what they do is they start to bash that. So something like that is going on with Pasio because he rejects part of his background out of anger, hatred, something, and that reflects in his speech as a narcissism, covert narcissism. All right. So let's continue this garbage a little bit more. By the way, a lot of things that Westerners that he claims that are from West, like for example, Aleister Crowley. If we talk about Aleister Crowley, has stolen a lot of things from the East, India specifically, Hinduism. In fact, he has also stolen from. We have this thing called Aghorism, a few things from there as well. And later on, before he died, he whatever the fuck he was doing all his life, he dropped all that and he became Buddhist. All right. So these are the lesser known facts about Aleister Crowley. So is he still Western? Uh, moreover, if we look into about this, whatever he revere, Palmer Hall, Palmer Hall, Manly P Hall. Manly P Hall, he has a lot, like he talks about, he has his own techniques, a few techniques. He was the member of that Golden Dawn movement or something, Crawley. So uh, they tried to steal. In fact, what these people call as New Age is these people whom they revere. So what they try to do is they try to steal the elements from the Eastern, usually from Hinduism, sometimes from Buddhism as well, religions, and they try to hijack those things and they try to westernize, like make them wear new clothings, new wrappers, and they try to repack them, and they failed miserably. Then they like, when we talk about Western stuff, Western spiritualism, tell me one thing about that is real about Western spiritualism. If we look into all these things deeply enough, Western as in American, or your, if you call British, Irish, Scottish, let's say, or Welsh, Western. So, what's the background of them? What actually truly is in the background? They have ex- uh, imported the ideas from other countries or other backgrounds. Let's not talk about countries here because those were the regional things from your older Egypt and all the stuff. So, is Egypt a Western entity? How? I fail to understand this logic of Western America. Usually, they call Egypt as Western. How? Egypt is not in America or anything nearby. Moreover, if they talk about, even if you talk about Christianity and all the stuff, and you say that Christianity is from Palestine or your Israel, whatever you pick, it's still in East. It's Eastern thing. All right. So none of this thing makes any sense. And if that's not the basis of their background, let's go into this witchcraft that is pure European stuff, but not as pure as, like, I think it has elements stolen from or shared elements, because it's hard to pinpoint this thing, because older India, before all this British and all stuff, British Raj is a recent thing. Before that, they were Mughals. Before that, they were Portuguese, French. They were all sorts of people. Before that, we were more connected with the Arabian. Before that, we had these Hindu related stuff, the core ideology. And before that, we had indigenous people. And if you look into the indigenous background of India, that has similarity with your Western, really, your. And I'm not saying these are the exact same things. I'm saying there's an overlap of these things. You won't believe me. I will show you. Let me show you. Let me clarify this thing also. It's the name of Pan God. Okay, let's see the image of Pan the God. Pan. Sorry. So this is the Pan God of Europe. People usually connect him with witchcraft and all stuff. Okay, and goat headed god of India. Um, People say that this is devil, but this is not devil. Okay, don't be ignorant. This specific image might be, yeah, this one. Okay, god, creature, mythology and folklore. Prajapati, Daksh Prajapati. So look at this. This is Shiva, Indian deity, and this is also Indian deity, by the way. And these two are not the same thing. Not same thing, but the idea about this thing, around this thing, is overlapping onto each other. So how do you know that European witchcraft or these cultures like Wiccan or other, they did not steal our ideas and twisted them into the Western stuff? Hard to say, but clearly there is an overlap. And if you compare the history of Europe and India, we are vastly we predate any history of the West. We are a long living civilization with a long culture rich history. And this is just cultural and all this religious stuff. If I show you the temples of India, ancient India, they are technology that people still cannot replicate in today's time. That's a matter of some other videos. And I'm not talking about the famous temples. There are multiple temples that you don't even know. So that's also a thing. All right.
It looks exotic. It really does. Maybe they like the Indian women. The guys will go for that. Like it's superficial shit. Think just very superficial. Or they'll see a movie or something.
Pop culture, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes, there's a lot of that. And whether or not it was intentional, whoever makes those rock videos or pop videos or movies somewhat gives you the impression, and there are films like this, there's actually movies that I love very deeply that do this, like the original Razor's Edge, with Tyrone Power. Perfect example, now that we're talking about it. Well, of course, the movie's a masterpiece, right? But nevertheless, as a backdrop, it would be a perfect example, and there's others as well. And so the setting of this sort of spiritual aspiration needs to happen.
So let me give you the background for him to bash non-dualism. He These people are so stupid, to say the least. So what they have is they carry this covert narcissism, and when you give you something, so what they do is they try to dissect that thing like a narcissist usually dissect everything. Okay, narcissists and psychopaths, they dissect everything to try to dominate it. There's a factor of king something with these people. Okay, so and their simple mind, what they do is they try to dissect and try to get to the basis of everything, and then they try to bash that with their narcissism, with zero facts, with their rhetoric, with their projection and delusion. So a lot of Western mind, what they do is they fall for this projection because this is fueled with hatred, fueled with ignorance. They don't know anything much about these cultures. They follow words. They don't know anything about this culture. What is common in that is the hatred, the racism. So they tend to bash these things, and this bashing, this feeds their narcissistic ego, all the while staying disconnected and dissociated from the actual facts of the matter. The actual fact of the matter of these things is the see, consciousness is one entity. It does not rely on any principle, any philosophy, or not even on psychology and psychiatry or medicine. What psychology, psychiatry, medicine, philosophy, this and that is, it's an effort to develop a framework to map these things. And if we talk about psychology alone, that he has no idea about, maybe he has heard or read work of people, but the core idea of psychology, these people are very far from that even. So what psychology is the third person's view on psyche, on human psyche, thoughts, processes. So there's first person's version, that is where you exist. The second person's version, like for example, if there's a crazy person, so this crazy person, if he is crazy alone in isolation, nobody will bother, nobody will notice it and will care about this. Okay, so obviously there is a second person also in the view who are experiencing this thing. Okay, and what psychology is doing is it's third person's view, where they're observing the interactions and everything else, and then trying to model it according to the values that these systems have. These values can be inclined toward the Western stuff, and they can totally pathologize some other cultures, and that is case in many cases. And let's not make it this. Let's not reduce it to this thing, because I actually respect psychology, and psychology has a long history where they went completely wrong about these things. At some point they became crazier, and still is the case. There's a lot of psychologists and have always been who have some sort of issues with themselves. So the thing is, first of all, how much as a let's say if these people are bashing all east and west, making all these things, so if we go into all these things, psychology alone, but by the way, I respect, follow as a mechanism, as a tool to understand and have an understanding on the things that are going on in the world. But let's put that thing apart for 1 second, and let's stoop to their level, and let's analyze what psychology is doing. Psychology and psychiatry has shocked people, electroshock people, to make them thoughtless, to make them vegetable. Okay, and this was their cure. They have done this, how do you call it, when they lobotomy, they used to pierce through eye and used to damage the brain. That's also psychiatry, and psychology. So yeah, we can also find 100 different issues with these things and bash these things. But since we know better, we are not living in some prehistorical ancient ages still. So we have grown up, despite the fact that background from such people, they enslaved us people. They did not let us grow. First, they were bashing the things that we had in the older times, and later on, what did is they stole those things and they rule reversed. This has happened. I can show you multiple examples of such thing. Okay, what you think in today's time as a modern stuff, we had these things in the ancient India. Believe it or not, I can show you. I can back this thing up. I'm not making empty claims here, but it will take some time, and it's a matter of some other videos. But it is a factual thing. All right, we had technology that is way ahead of current today's technology right now. Okay, like if you look into the monolith of Kailasha temple, and there are other multiple examples for this. We have carvings on the walls, yeah, all a lot of crazy things. Okay, so let's not stoop to their level. Let's just witness their stupidity.
In the wilderness of the Himalayas, up in some remote Buddhist temple, and the more remote the better, and the less populated the better, and the more stark the better. And if you climb up even further, you'll finally meet an old wise man with a really long beard sitting under.
Why is he talking about Buddhists having a long white beard? It's his projection. If he actually had any idea about Buddhism, he would have understood that Buddhists do not even have, the monk don't have any hair. Okay, let alone beard. So this is all his projection. This thing alone proves his ignorance, his hatred, his narcissism, his projection, his lack of understanding on these things. Actually, he's not demonizing anything. He's just showing lack of his ignorance and lack of his understanding on these things, and that is fueled with narcissism and hatred, blind narcissism and hatred.
A banyan tree with these glorious eyes.
So he mixed two things: bearded man with banyan tree, because this much, only this far, these people have gone into these things, so they could not go past that. What they do is, I've seen this multiple times, a lot of people don't want to go into all these things, deeper into these things, because these people do not know anything. What they do is they create tropes that they make other people to either mock or hate. But when you go deeper into their whole shit, they don't know anything about these things. They're very far away from the actual things. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to spread hatred toward other cultures, out of their, I don't know what his issue is, to be honest.
He's just been waiting for you. Yeah.
Who says this thing beside some crazy movies of Hollywood or something? This is the logic of Western Hollywood movies. Why is he mixing fiction with the facts? See, we have Buddhist monastery and we don't call them temple. Okay, first of all, they're monastery, and monastery is also a Western term. We don't even call them monastery. We call them, I forgot the Hindi term actually. Buddhist, Bhanta. Mm, there's a terminology, but monastery is closer to that. But it does not mean the same thing as the Western Christian stuff. We don't call them monastery, by the way. Secondly, Buddhists do not have any time. Even if you go to Buddhist monasteries to try to meditate, they will make you leave 50 times first. Go, we don't want you. We don't have time. We are busy. You will not be able to do this. You will not be able to endure this. You will not be able to meditate. There's this issue, that issue. They will make you go, leave 50 times first. And once you stay there, you keep asking them, keep asking them, keep asking them. Maybe if they find you fit, they will give you a few chance to meditate, and they will take care of you, not like a baby or luxurious things, but for the period, that amount of time, they will provide you with stuff properly, proper stay for a person. It will not be five-star hotel. Okay, Buddhists are live with basic things, whatever they have around them. At least I'm talking about the actual true classical Buddhist stuff. There are multiple Buddhism things around the world now, so I'm not talking about all those things. I'm talking about the original philosophical and what we have experienced in India. So I'm not going to talk about any European facility or something. Okay, and they will try to make you meditate for a few days. Once you're done, on the same day they will say namaste, make you leave. What he's talking about, Buddhism and all the stuff, this is part of his hatred. Okay, because I put this person on the spot, and now he came up with all these things after I exposed his whole shit. So he put these things together like this, and not just thing, and not it was my intention to expose these people or anything. This person came to protect Satykas Boza, same as Mark Passio, same as Michael Tsarion, same as Thunder Wizard, same as other people. Okay, so yeah, and these people cannot handle this thing that I've defeated them in their whole shit with evidence and everything else. So they create these tropes. Now they could not attack me directly. They could not show me their narcissism directly. So they are twisting these things and they are making these things by adding their nonsense into this thing. They are using Buddhism as a projection of their mind. They don't have any idea about what Buddhism is. So whatever come their way, let's make a trop about it. Let's demonize that trop or that snapshot that they have. Let's project their insecurities and madness into that, and let's mock at it. Let's find a dumbass who can nod his head, all right, and make a narrative about it.
And he only eats a bowl of rice and he can do all these miraculous things.
What? Buddhists never say that they, in fact, in Buddhist philosophy, Buddhists do not condone your metaphysics. If you go to Buddhist monastery somewhere, if you practice any these things, so you cannot meditate there. Okay, you have to follow a specific thing. So this person is lacking all the understanding on Buddhism, let alone in psychology or anything else.
He's been just waiting. He knew you were coming and he's waiting for you because he wants to now deliver unto you the whole mystery of the universe.
Who is doing this thing? Who said so? Who does this thing? Where did he find such Buddhist monasteries or places? I live in India. I've been to such places multiple times. Never met anybody there. So what is he trying to do is he's mixing in his head. He's mixing some Arabic fantasy. So this is how these people project all these things. Clearly, he has no idea about what Buddhism is, right?
Okay. So this type of tripe has affected millions of schmucks in the West.
Millions of the smokes of the east of the west. What the fuck do you mean? What? Okay, there are millions such people. Let's talk one of such people who have had this special VIP treatment. Clearly, he has no idea. Clearly, he has no idea.
Hell, it already had them over their arses in the East, where people would always send their, sort of quiet, useless sons to the monastery. People had
Quite useless sons. Like West send their quite useless sons to other countries to get shot at. In the name of military, they're fighting somebody else's fight. They're always into somebody else's business. That's what he's referring, or what? Which is better? Sitting quietly, useless son. This person, he is useless, to be honest, throughout his life, to say the least. I will say this much only.
big families there, as you know, in the East. Well, always the son who looked like he couldn't milk a cow, right? Or build a fence or even sit by the
Who's this person next to him? Is he describing this person or what?
river and fish for a single fucking fish. He's useless. Well, we know what we can do with him. It's obligatory to send one of our children, at least one, to the local monastery. And we'll send this halfwit. And hell, they got a vow of silence, so nobody will even know he's a halfwit.
Look at this person. Do you think this person can fish a single fish?
And you just got to dress them up in some orange robes, tell them to go run a bag, or you can do you can train them to do some basic manual labor.
So what he's trying to do here is he's trying to show that how much ignorant he can be. And since he's a covert narcissist, so he's trying to keep it under the radar. Okay.
And he can ring a bell, and he knows how to sleep on a mat and get up exactly 5 times a night when the bell rings,
What? 5 times a night? He will what? Wake up 5 times a night? What tradition is he talking about?
On a mat and get up exactly 5 times a night when the bell.
What? So he has no idea about Buddhism. Ignorance is real in this person. Why would somebody wake up 5 times a night? What the fuck is he talking about? What? See, in Buddhism, as far as my experience goes, what you do is you meditate the whole day, 12 hours a day, from morning 4:30 4 a.m. till 5 6 p.m. That's all. So this is around 12 13 hours. There are some breaks and all stuff in between. And after 6 7 8, depends, we have to sleep till 4 a.m. So I don't know what tradition is he talking about. Even orange robe, this and that. Orange robe, only people who get to some level, they are allowed to wear orange robes. Otherwise, depends on the tradition also. But usually, in the beginning, people are supposed to wear white clothing. So all his whatever he's projecting is showing his ignorance here, not some concrete fact or something. He's trying to create mockery about something because his garbage got exposed.
Rings, and it's all good. And then I told you before, when they knew the West was looking, they quickly mobilized with the help of people in the West, okay, and also from the East and other countries. They mobilized this, and they took a genuine interest, and they responded to it in a very
Genuine interest. So taking genuine interest is bad. Moving your hand while saying genuine interest makes it something crazy or what? Taking genuine interest in reducing people's suffering is a bad thing. And which tradition is it talking about? Because Buddhism is not a umbrella term. There are 3 types of Buddhism, 2 types broadly: Hinyan and Mahayana. Okay, and these traditions have their own things going, subcultures, sub tradition. So you cannot generalize these things, and there are like not more than two, three type of Buddhism. Like for example, there's a Buddhism of Japan and China, right? Very different from Indian stuff. Some people say that they are part of Mahayana. I doubt that. Okay, and then there are these Zen Buddhism seen as Mahayana, part of Mahayana, still different. Okay, and then we have Vajrayana of Tibetan Buddhism. That's different from both Indian and Chinese Buddhism. All right, and these all things have different things going, and none of these traditions have long white beard. Okay,
crafty way. And the whole thing has just continued from that point on. But then this other part of the equation, the young men who got involved in it in the West and the women generally couldn't give a damn about the so-called Western philosophical tradition or the Western.
Yeah, because they're trying to get rid of their addictions or other sort of craziness. Okay, so how is this our concern? Or doesn't give a damn about Western tradition? What Western tradition? Give me one pure Western tradition, any single one that is not driven from any tradition from either Indian background mostly, which is the case by the way, or some other Celtic, Slavic, which are once again somehow little bit they borrowed something from us. Okay, let's talk about this your Celtic culture. Once again, Proto-Indian, Germanic background, right? Proto-European background. Then again, that's not pure European. So what is he espousing here? If you go to this Wales and your Scottish background and all stuff, then again Anglo-Indian. So none of their whole shit is pure. So he is lacking everything, I believe.
Hermetic tradition. All they knew was that they didn't like the Christianity, and you said it, that they had learned down the local Sunday school or church. So they threw that out. And that's enough. This
What?
anarchic,
What?
and there was just enough shows back in the 50s and 60s where these sort of Indian guru types would crop up. Very innocuous, nothing to write home about, but they'd be there. It'd be in these famous pop.
Why is he using umbrella terms? If there's some Hindu, so specify which Hindu is he talking about? Because Hinduism has multiple subcultures. Hinduism, the major subculture is Vaishnavism, Dravidianism. So what the fuck is he even talking about? All Hinduism is not one big umbrella term. There are Hindus who are atheistic. So what the fuck is he even talking about?
Popular shows, and this worked, especially in the post-war years where people were a little bit jaded. New affluence was coming back, but people were sick and tired of the old pre-war mores. They didn't even like the architecture anymore, and they wanted to see it swept away. I'm thinking here of Britain. They hated it, right? And they wanted to sort of swept anything old. That was all grandma's stuff, grandfather clocks and beautiful gardens. This all had to go.
Who
Beautiful
is this yes man? Why is he not challenging him with anything? Either he does not know anything, or he is complicit with him to create this theatrics where he's speaking no facts, just his superficial projection or narcissism. So narcissism is not logic, or knowledge, or history, anything. All right.
parks. What do we want all this for? Let's turn it into a dog toilet. Let's turn it into a racetrack, or where the kids can go rollerblading or something. And so all over Europe and all over Britain, this is what happened. Trees were cut down, parks were transformed. Park is a place where you go to sit quietly in peace in nature. Oh no, that's all over. No one can sit in a park in Britain today in quiet.
This happened because of us. So why do we have parks then? We always had parks. The older term, Hindi term is Vatika for parks. Vatika means garden, and usually gardens were in some sort of park. So why do we have parks? Did we? What is he even talking about? Is he projecting everything? Is he scapegoating everything onto us? Is it our fault that these people went insane? Why is he making attributing all these things to us?
They were turned into nightmares. And these were Victorian parks that were specifically made for aesthetic appreciation and contemplation. That was out. These moderns that you're talking about, you're in the postmodern, they honed in on that. And it's an art of how they actually destroyed the parks, and not just the parks, but other places too. They were systematically destroyed. And the local women with their push chairs and their kids loved it. They went for it. They got themselves on the boards of local.
Is this thing any? I mean, what the fuck? Are we talking logic here, or are we just talking about random things? How is this thing, any of this thing, connected with us?
towns and insisted that it happens even more. So any space that was quiet, pensive, natural, with natural, hedgehogs and moths and bees and really little apple trees, and all of this quaint stuff was systematically destroyed, and nothing was put into place.
But why the fuck Buddhists in India live in such places? Like if you go to any monastery, you will see that they are surrounded by greenery and Buddhistic philosophy. Monks and everybody else, they are protecting even an insect there. You cannot touch anything, not even a plant. You cannot pick a plant. You cannot pick a flower, or let alone any animal or anything. So is this person insane or what? Why is he twisting everything? Is he exhibiting his narcissism or ignorance here? I'm a little bit confused right now.
It was just a simple, brutalistic uglification of our towns, and it didn't happen by any hidden hand coming in, at night to do it. The same with the comprehensive schools and all the rest of the things we could mention here. But back to the point. The way to
What?
redecorate this post-war world now involved this multiculturalistic attitude.
Like we don't have these things here. Is this person insane? Okay, if I had some time and if people showed some interest, I will take my phone and I will show you how many parks do we have here, man-made and natural, and other greenery and all this stuff. And this is in the center of, even Delhi is green now. So what the fuck is he even talking about? Is he saying that India has no park, or is it somehow our mistake? We did something to their parks, and why do we have parks? What is his logic here? He's just bluntly projecting his hatred.
And many people at the top of government had fallen for it. Many people in academia had fallen for it. And many of the proles, the
Fallen for what? What is he even talking about?
normies, also fell for it. And the media picked up on it big time and started to mobilize it. So it's all part of mind control. It's got nothing to do with anything real.
What mind control?
And this is a big shocker then, because when people actually travel east on a little holiday and they go there and they think this is going to be the best holiday of my life, no, they don't come back with family albums stuffed of the great time that they had. It's
India is supposed to be a tourist spot. Like we should just have this full-time job to become a tourist attraction and to serve these lunatics who are usually drunk or alcoholic or use all sorts of cocaine and everything else. Is he saying that we are just born to cater to their shitty needs? We have our systems, we have our own philosophy and all those things going on, and you have to respect them. If you're coming to somebody else's culture and you're expecting, like for example, if you go to Colorado or Texas, so you have to behave in a certain way. And it's the same thing, but in opposite sense. There you have to be crazy, lunatic, and you are more respected there. And you have to understand these things, the word of the street. Here you have to be more like a human. If you're less human, if you are more chaotic, you're causing all sorts of issues. So why would we like host you? And then if you are coming to India to have an experience about our stuff, so we are giving you our stuff. Why disappointed in that? Did not you come here to have the experience of what we follow? What?
absolutely dreadful. Right? And you can read it in biographies of some very, very famous people who made the mistake. The amount of bribery and corruption that's there, the amount of child poverty, the amount of animal brutality, and the whole
What the fuck is he talking about? Child brutality, mind poverty. What? Have you been to the streets of New York? Have you seen what is going on there? Zombie apocalypse with all sorts of crocodile and all stuff. What? At least we are not PDF here. We don't have an island here where we are doing drugs and all stuff and all sorts of things. And this poverty, this and that, most of these things are run by Western gangs, by the way. All right. Moreover, how is this a problem of Buddhism? He's bashing Buddhism, and now he's adding up to all other things that he can find, that he can like. Are these people full of so much hatred, and do not these people have any mirror at home, or what's going on with these people? Child poverty, this and that, what the fuck is he talking about? Try to run a country of billions for a year or for one day. We are doing our best here, and then we have this American influence, your Israel influence directly affecting our. Whenever we get better, whenever we start to handle our stuff, these people come, their sleeper cells or something come here, and they disrupt everything, they sabotage everything, and they even have the figurehead somehow that influence that produces, like, we are facing this thing since Trump came in power. All educated background people, people from your engineering background and all that stuff, they're all under attack by these psychopaths. Okay, and you think that is not, that is our doing, we are sabotaging ourselves? No, there's something else going on. Okay, and this is a deeper thing, and we have to look into this thing. I have to, I mean, we know a lot of things, but we cannot say these things directly unless and until these things become public. All right.
It just goes on. It's a fucking frightful nightmare, and you're lucky to come out alive. And this is for the whole of the East. All poverty, amount of animal brutality, and the whole. It just goes on.
It's still better than Epstein Island, I believe, right? And yeah, people have talked about Ireland, and not some other people from England, they talk about Ireland. They tell us all the things about what goes in Ireland. 13, 14, 12 years old kids are drinking alcohol and all sorts of crazy things. Let's talk about that for a while. Child poverty, this and that. What?
It's a fucking frightful nightmare, and you're lucky to come out alive. And this is
Yeah,
for the whole of the East. Nothing.
whole of West is full of this prostitution, and your this, what do you call it, trafficking, human trafficking, all sorts of other ordeal. So let's talk about that, from Europe to Australia to Britain and everything else. Let's talk about that. Okay.
Is maintained. Beautiful things that were built fall into dilapidation within a matter of only years, and then
What the fuck does he mean? We have Taj Mahal. It still is there. So I think these people, they come here and they are complain. These are more like Kirans. They complain about everything. See, we have an environment here in India. We have 4 or 5 seasons, and summer is really heavy here with so much population and everything else. So there are factors, natural factors, that oppose. Like for example, if you live in Europe, Germany, or somewhere, so the natural environment is more preserving. Okay, the sun is not that bright there. Snowfall is a thing, but still cold weather preserves things more. And here in India, we have humid and not as much humid, but hot weather. So these are natural factors. What is he even crying about? And we have a lot of things here that are preserved, better preserved than any of these. We have 10,000s, or let's say 5,000 years old temples and everything else. So what the fuck is he even crying about? The India he has in his head, I think he never been to India. Like recently, it's a little bit down, but before 2014, we had a good India, very good. It used to feel like we are in Europe. I'm talking about myself right now. So yeah, it depends also that how much foreign influence or sabotage we have a country. So I don't think this person has any idea about anything.
they're unfixable. Nobody can fix it.
What the fuck does he mean? Unfixable, nobody can fix it. What? We are mostly engineers in India. Okay. Okay, and we have levers, massive levers. We have farmers. This person has hatred in his head. If you give him a screwdriver, he would not know what to do with it. He's preaching. He's preaching somebody. What a joke.
You don't even try. It's just a nightmare. But somehow, my peeve is, because I have studied all of this. My peeve is that while this was all going on, you see, a very deep.
I don't know where did he study all this garbage. The way he speaks about these things, this is an evidence enough to me, at least, native Indian, to understand that he had not studied anything. What he's doing here is virtue signaling toward his own kind people, because they have never been to India, they don't know India. Like, if this is the state of this person who claims himself to be a teacher or something, and this is the level of his understanding on these things, then I have little hope about all other people. So this is his sweet spot, to bash and everything else, and to have some dog whistle to his kind, and to make dollars.
Deep traditions were being neglected. And I knew that at some point in our destiny of the West, this is going to start showing up, this deficit, as it has.
It's showing up. What is going on in the Epstein Island since 2000 or something? So this is today's thing. This will show up. What the fuck does he mean? Even what? Okay, just forget America. Let's go to Britain, where the kings and queens, the Prince Andrew. Okay, my lord.
Postmodernism, posthumanism is based in deficit, right? In the fact that you don't know what you've got, you don't know where to go to find it, and so you got
Why is his hand so pale? Is he going through some jaundice due to alcoholism or what? Look at
what
his
you've got.
hand.
You've got this because you don't know that right over there is this. It's neglect, total neglect. And we need to get back to some of those traditions. So my little articles and programs, try to give these primers to people to introduce them to some of these teachings. But I think these two things in summary, I would say the New Age movement is not going anywhere. It's dangerous. And also is this up and coming non-dualism cult is
Non-dualism cult. Buddhism is the world's oldest tradition. It's a cult, and Crawlism is not a cult. Okay, these Wiccans and all these sorts of witchcrafts, Manlipi Hall's whole shit is not a cult. Okay, Thelema is not a cult, right? That is uh, basically based around Hindu philosophies, like stolen material from Hindus and twisted. And this is a cult. And he's saying that original things that their cult have stolen things from and repacked them, that became cult. So this is the state of these people. What does this thing prove about this person? Narcissism, psychopathy, hatred, racism, self-hatred. What? Because this is what I'm reading right now in him. Not whatever the whole shit he's spewing. None of that has any evidence based. Like, show me the evidence of your saying. He's talking about non-dualism Buddhism, and he's talking about other factors of India. So let's talk about your country's factors. Let's see how great your country is. I've spoken with a few Irish people. Like, for example, you have this boxer. What was his name? MMA. And he was a PDF also. What?
something to be watching out for. That would be terrible if that took off more. Those two things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call up the article.
He has fear about things that are not either urgent or needed or even scary, like he's making. But he is totally ignorant about things that are actually affecting his country. The biggest problem is alt right. The biggest problem is skinheads from his own country. The cult of skinhead. These blue collar, white collar, whatever the fuck the trope is for those people. So do something about that first. Do something about the racism, the radicalization of your youth. So no, these are not the problem according to him. The problem is that keeps those people from being radicalized. Those must be the problem. And these people, they constantly do this dog whistling to radicalize youth. That's not a problem at all. No. The problem is some Buddhist sitting in his monastery in the east and not even expecting anybody to come. And they prefer not, like most people do not come, to be honest. But they don't want to be rude. The people who come, they preach them something. It's a whole process, not to degrade and not to level to these people's level. See, monastery and everything else, but this all our cultures are open for everybody, and we are here to respect people, right? But we are not here to cater to your needs, to your luxurious lifestyle. If you're coming to India to have an experience about Indian culture and stuff, we are giving you that as is. Why are you crying about this later on? Okay.
Cool. Well, we get started into it a little bit.
Yeah,
Very
okay,
good.
thanks.
Yeah, super. So again, this article can be found on your website, michaeltsarion.com, and is titled Better Dead Than Real.
I'm not going to present his text on my video.
Or created the banks. So which is it? And you can't tell. It's an imponderable.
The banks define the
See, when we look at a river and you see these banks, and the left brain says, well, there's your river. The banks, the water's following the river. But some part of us always stops and gazes again and says, but wait a minute, the water created the banks. So which is it? And you can't tell. It's an imponderable. So there is this third element then that comes into play when we, the observer, observes the contrarian. Now, the thing is, you don't really observe the contrarian.
He's going into this dualism, non-dualism, and none of these people understand these philosophies, these ideas. He will throw these words around, Heidegger, this and that. All right. I've seen something in these people's bullshit. So it depends on their mood whether they want to bash Germanic background or they want to praise. Sometimes they bash Germanic background. A person from his own cult, his friend Sethicus Boza, he bashed Germanic background, by the way. On top of all that, we have a collective history with proto-Germanic, proto-European background. We, Indians. So when he's talking about German being Western, this and that, yeah. So what? We also were buddy with them. What about that? He's from Ireland and he's Anglo-Saxon, not Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, what do you call these people? Anglo-Saxon, I believe, right? So yeah, at least have some sense about your own culture. German or even Slavic people, or even your Balkan Russian, we have a great influence and they have a great influence on our culture and we on theirs. And Japan, China, Mongolia, all these cultures also beside that. And these people, they have influence on other people's culture where they have the stolen gold, okay, they stolen diamonds, they stolen spices, they stolen philosophies that are later repacked in this. See, the academic background of West is credible. It is, but it also has a lot of things. Like academia is not a thing of West alone. It's a collaborative effort from everywhere, even Russians, even your Muslims, and let alone Indians and everybody else. It's not nobody's property. As much as these people have a claim about the academia, we also have share in that. What about that?
For him, that's what this was written about. You get glimpses of it, and that's not good enough. We need to start to become more lucidly aware of this oppositorium, this contrarian. And so my work is trying to help you do that. But
One
it's
is
not
throwing around. One is throwing around this invented term contrarium. Other spouse about addendum. There's another person who has no background in any of these things, who make bases about Thor, this and that. So these people have all these splitted, fragmented, different things within their own cult, and somehow they are talking about their teaching is the absolute teaching, and they all bash, by the way, Eastern stuff that actually have some value, and they're garbage that is invented, that is, by the way, stolen and later on plagiarized in a way. I'm not saying that directly saying that they have plagiarized directly, because logic exists independently and anybody can interpret it and can have their own thing. But the thing is how these people came to these conclusions, and then they have driven these new things. That process, where did that process come from, right?
say that people don't actually get glimpses of it. They do.
Mhm.
And often the glimpse of it is something that we find very beautiful, like looking at a natural landscape,
Mhm.
because the contrarium is waving to us.
Mhm. Come to India, I will show you natural landscapes here, okay? Miles and miles. So this person has no idea about what India is. I mean, I think he has a background from Nepal. So what is this person even talking about?
Through the natural order. It is the natural order.
Buddhism, he's bashing Buddhism right now. And Buddhism follows this thing called Dhamma. Dhamma literally means natural law, natural order. And this is a concept of thousands of years old. So what are these people trying to do here? Is it envy or what?
But we grew up and were never, ever, ever, ever taught this in school. We would have been had this German mystical tradition and idealistic tradition been dominant in the West. We would have been, right? But
How did he know that it is not taken from us? Because Germany has stolen this Aryan race. By the way, that's a term from India, and your Persia, they've stolen that. How do you know that they have not driven these things from our culture?
we haven't. And even with all the turning to the East, they saturate your mind with this non-dualism, and that's not.
They will saturate your mind with non-dualism, where he does not even understand what non-dualism is. Whatever he has espoused so far, and he tried to attribute it to Buddhism or non-dualism, is bullshit. It's the creation of his own twisted mind, not any Buddhism or non-dualism. These are not the philosophy. So I can espouse about anything night and day without actually knowing the stuff. So that does not make my espousing my hatred or anything about the stuff. Like for example, if I sit here and curse physics or mathematics night and day, and a few idiots can fall for that. So would the actual content of physics and mathematics be affected in any way of my cursing, or would the fact will remain the fact? In the same way, he's cursing out things without actually getting into the matter, without actually talking about these things.
Cutting it either. In fact, it's the complete opposite of what I'm talking about. So getting glimpses is good, but our time has come now to become much more cogently aware of what this is. And then that will help us revision lots of things, other things, like science, like quantum science, because
Now they want to revision because quantum science. Go watch my first video what I talked about quantum physics and science. All right.
even computers look at 1 0, right? The 0 1, that's a contrarium, right? The wave and the particle, that's a contrarium. So we will be able to revision a lot of things, especially some of the important things when we do so. But if you want to read a bit more, yeah, that's fine.
Should I play his garbage? Because I don't want to keep his garbage on my screen. Okay. Literary work or something.
To pass it back to you, Michael, how does telos play into what the contrarian is as well?
Is it contrarian or contrarium? Because this person is saying contrarium and he's saying contrarian. So what? Listen, let's listen this one once again.
Back to you, Michael. How does telos play into what the contrarian is as well?
Contraria, even. He's not even calling it contrarium or contrarian. Contraria.
Well, this is, of course, vitally important. Comes out of Aristotle primarily, but it was there before him. There's a difference between being and becoming. That everything there's a thatness.
He's talking about Aristotle now. If you look into history of India and everything else, these older philosophers, they used to visit India, and we also used to visit Europe frequently. So yeah, these people are ignorant, to be honest.
Which is the heart of philosophy. Philosophy comes out of a thatness, not a whatness, and gets subverted into whatness. So that something exists, or that anything does exist, was the wonder, the astonishment, the awe that all of philosophy was based in.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly, by the time of Aristotle, the focus kind of changed from that.
So Western mind cannot grasp this idea that things exists without their explanation. Like it's not necessary for humans or us to understand anything that exists in the nature automatically. So they think that since things can be labeled and spoken in a certain way, so the spoken thing, the platform, that is the evidence of the existence of a principle, of an object, something. And what we say is, it's not necessary. If we know this, that's a plus, that's a good practice, that's easier on us. And we try to find the meaning, but we don't go crazy about the meaning of these things. Like there are a lot of philosopher had been a lot of philosopher in the West. They literally went crazy first trying to find the meaning of life, and later on, when they did not or could not find a meaning of life, they became crazy, or they just unalived themselves. Cannot say the word. So this is the state of their philosophy and their understanding. So since they could not find a meaning or a label to label their experience, they thought that it is useless and pointless. So this is what we call nihilism, by the way, in a Western terminology. And what East try to do is, specifically if you talk about non-dualism or Buddhism, non-dualism is not entirety of Buddhism. It is the philosophy, one of the core philosophy of Buddhism. But it's not limited to Buddhism. There's a non-dualism in Hinduism as well, and other. Like in the last video, I talked about Big Bang theory. So this theory is based around non-dualism. Okay, dualism is where there are two major things: Prakriti and Purush, or Manas. Right? So Prakriti is independent of Purush. Purush means male, man. But in their philosophy, Sankhya philosophy or Manusmriti, they don't mean it like that. They mean man. Manu means mind. Smriti means remembrance. So they have splitted this reality, try to make a framework around this reality by separating nature from the mind, or Purusha, as in Purusha means effort. Okay, so effort is independent of Prakriti, but Prakriti is not independent of. It's a twisted thing. All right, to say the least. So this person, this is dualism, by the way, I'm talking about right now. Now, dualism can be seen in your Taoism, Dao Duo, it's something alike, right? So, and you can see in the Western philosophies as well. These things, they are just looking at things, and this is one of multiple philosophies. Like, for example, dualism is a philosophy of Hinduism, and sometimes some schools teaches this thing in other subcultures, like other things as well. And also, non-dualism is also a philosophy of Hinduism and some other cultures and Buddhism. So what is he trying to preach here? We know what dualism is. We know what non-dualism is. We know other things that exist also, what they are. What is he trying to budge in all these things to prove something? Okay, I need my charger. Just 1 second. Yeah, so he was talking about useless son, something. I think he was a useless son of his family, and if he had spent some time in meditating or something, maybe he would have understood something of use. Maybe he would not have to do all this thing what he does. Yeah.
And started to move into, well, then said, okay, it's not, the important thing is not that things exist. It's what is it that exists? Let's look up closer to these things. Now, Martin Heidegger thought this was absolutely huge because it was a mistake, right? And it was a thing that was
Heidegger thought these things are Heidegger and whatever the Western philosophies talk about. These things exist 200, 300 years ago, okay? And our philosophies, they existed thousands of years ago, 2,500 years ago. So, I don't know. We already had certain things and we did not feel like to mess with that thing because it worked properly. So, since we have these things for 2,500 years ago, and some Heidegger came in the West and he re-studied these things, and who knows how these people came to this conclusion later on, by the way. So those things became there, like the original principles that we have already understood thousands of years ago. So that does not mean anything. Okay. And some Heidegger came, so it became his property. Since these people can patent our plants and trees, neem and all stuff, so they became their property now. They are not naturally occurring things, or they did not came from our background, right? So this is not corruption or anything. Right?
going to lead to technology, which it did. Now you are
Mhm.
using the left brain, which you and I have spoken about so much before. So this is where this comes on, and might even be one of the reasons for the strength of the left brain.
So what these people are trying to do is, these people try to run this whole shit for 6 years, and in a way, I put them back to their places. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to re-regulate themselves using this whole shit, where they bash things that I talked about, right?
Because the left brain takes charge now into what is it? Well, it's hard. Okay, what's that?
Brain does not work in isolation. There's no brain that does not work in coordination of these things, left brain and right brain. Left brain alone cannot work, cannot function. There's no procedure where one brain totally shut off and other brain hemisphere it becomes dominant. All right, there's no such thing. And there are other uh, prefrontal cortex, and there are all sorts of things, amygdala and all stuff, your cerebrum. There are all sorts of brains that functions as a whole. There's no left brain, right brain. This analogy is bullshit.
Well, not soft. What's soft? Well, that's not hard.
The brain is talking like this. Wow, wow.
And it's red. What's that? Well, it's kind of not orange. What's orange? Well, you see, and now it starts. My God.
Is it a
It's
brain or is it a mosquito? Wow, wow, wow.
brittle. It's rough. It's smooth. It's plain. It's light. It's heavy. It's useful. No, it's not useful.
Clearly, he does not understand how brain works. Brain does not brain process things. Brain process thoughts, and there's a whole process behind this. It's not like brain is taking charge. I want to laugh at these people, but I don't want to stoop to their level, to be honest.
It's similar to this other thing, right? And on goes. So philosophy soon became technology, science, and this all happened. And the very fact that anything exists when really nothing should exist.
To be honest, if I talk about these things, I don't talk about these things because these things become controversial and people try to pin these things onto me. Like, a life form can exist even without thoughts. There are multiple examples out there. Like let's talk about single-celled organism. Do they have a thought process? Do they have a mind? No, but life process exists. Let's talk about plants. Let's talk about other creatures, like your earthworm or something, right? So, since we are lacking something, we are lacking the understanding of these things. Not as much at this point. We have some understanding on how these things functions. Yet still, we have this perception and experience that we have as a human. So we make everything about human experience. But in all honesty, life form does not need a philosophy. It does not need a technology. All right. Life in itself is a technology, in itself is a philosophy. These people will never understand these things.
No longer bothered anybody. And as time went by, it bothered less and less and less and less people until Heidegger brought it back in the 20th century. And brought it back with such a bang that it just almost collapsed the towers, right?
Oh, something he rediscovered that we already knew. It must be such a bang that it collapsed the towers. What?
But back to these two ancient Greek concepts. Physis, or used to be called also phusis in its earlier etymology, which is nature, and techne. And all this meant was phusis is the natural order, and then the techne is what we make of it as human beings. And always, 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 the natural will have within it telos. And everything we make of a natural thing doesn't.
Why do these people hate GMO and they say that they are poisoning our food? All their horseshit cult. Like this philosophy, if it holds any value in real life, they should stuff themselves with GMOs and everything because nature does not have any meaning. If meaning comes from what we make it out of it. Why are these people crying about global warming? Right? Why do these people make so much noise then? Like it's your doing, and this is your philosophy, and this holds, and this is what you hold dear. So why the fuck are you even bothering about natural law?
Right? So a branch or an acorn or a flower or a bud,
Hmm.
Anything that nature creates has this sort of teleological cycle, if you want to call it that, or just this simple movement of becoming.
Mhm.
Whereas everything we create just lies there dead. We have to use it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll just decay or be completely useless
Mhm.
after its one purpose use.
Mhm.
It'll sit there and rot. Yeah.
Mhm.
So why are we not taught that in school? Well, so we would have been, right? These are the things we're unpacking of this German-Italian tradition. We would have been. And children would have been made infinitely more sensitive to this right from day one.
Mhm.
That no matter what, the natural order takes precedence over you. You do not take precedence over it. So even when you're drawing with bloody crayons,
Yeah, this is what non-dualism is, you idiot. So this person, in a single sentence or single segment, is bashing non-dualism and making it as a projection of his own limited capacity to understand these things. In the same segment or sentence, he's talking about the same stuff that we had discovered, we had a philosophy thousands of years ago, and then he's using Heidegger or whoever from 20th century. Let's talk about something that was pre-Christian.
your teacher should be showing you the natural takes precedent. That which you create has no telos and will fade away. And so the greater artist tries to reverence himself to that. He's aware of this. And he wants to try and say, I'd love to have the telos in my work. And so he's inspired to create even greater, knowing all the time that it's not going to happen.
He does not understand Indian background, anything. Look at the background of India. Everything is, most of our philosophies are not as much, although they have this logical expression, but they are mostly artistic. Music, through sculptures, through philosophies and all stuff. They are more artistic, and they are a combination of art and your logic and science. These idiots, they don't understand anything because they're blinded by stupidity.
But he says, I'm not just going to leave it there. I'm going to make my music and my painting as close to the natural as I can.
Look at the history of India. Do we have music?
So that's how you get Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. All right? That's how you get.
Beethoven, go listen to Ravi Shankar's Basuri, and we had multiple such. Basuri means this flute.
Your John Constables and the wonderful artwork of the world, because they are taking that as an inspiration, as a muse, and they don't look at nature as lesser. You asked me a question 2 weeks ago about Descartes.
Who's taking nature as, what the fuck is wrong with this person? How these people have twisted all these things? Are they blinded by their own hatred, or are they jealous, or what they are, these people are trying to pull? I don't understand.
This is the whole thing that Descartes did, but it was already in the works. It was in the blood where this hard divide would take place.
Mhm.
Because in that divide of subject and object, well, first of all, the divide is enough. Just the very fact that you did something that caused a division, you could just leave it there. That's bad enough because that division doesn't exist. That's totally artificial. And there's not one in a million academies and teachers who know this, who bother talking about it. All these materialist scientists you just mentioned.
Yeah, Indian philosophies are all about this thing. All our literature is based around this thing. These are thousands of years old things in our cultures. But this person, he had this Krishnamurti. He thinks that everything that happened in India, it's just one person who was idiot.
Take that as a given that we have this hard problem. No, the hard problem is not even the hard problem. You only get to that problem by explaining away all the other problems that you don't want to look at. All the things we're talking about. What have you cut?
He's lost in his hubris. He thinks that he has figured all this thing out. It's the craziest. Clearly, this person is lacking all the background. He does not understand anything.
Away from the table to get to your silly hard problem. You see? But the thing is that they don't mention this fact. And now that they're in the world of AI, isn't going to change anything either. Computation is not thinking. And computation has no telos. So if this was all taught to people, then a lot of things would have been changed.
Well, how the human consciousness works, it's not very different from your computation deep down. But yeah, he's right about this thing, because computation is one element of consciousness. It's not the wholesome, all the elements of the consciousness, right? So he has some, like, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
But what I am pointing out is, look, the telos. This is another aspect of the contrarium. When we have telos in physics, what do you think that is? It's so primordial, and yet it's another instance, just like time and space, or time and its contents. Those are two opposites.
Hmm.
Time is eternal, but the things in time are not eternal.
Hmm.
See, this thing is absolutely everywhere. And telos and physics are the same. But what this did was, when Descartes polarized the two worlds, it was not to just simply polarize, it was to raise up the level of.
I'm trying to like, he's not talking about things that he's bashing right now. He's not making any sense here. Just glorifying things that you have understood later on, that we already understood centuries ago, does not make you any superior. If he's doing this dominance game, so we still dominate you. What the fuck?
Mind above the physical, above physics.
Hmm.
We just said that no, you can't do that. Physics will always be higher than telos, higher than techne, yeah, which is man's industry. So Descartes smuggled it in that no,
So this person is going after the words, after the grammar. He does not have any connection with these things. Clearly, what he's bashing is exactly what we have. Okay, not in the same sense, not in the same wordings, but on the grassroots levels, it is the same stuff. Okay.
the techne, the man's intelligence and reason, would be always above nature. And of course, everybody went for it. Everybody was waiting for this. They were waiting with their confetti. This was all set up. It's all stage managed. This opened the whole of the materialistic world view.
Is he talking about non-dualism right now? Is he trying to prove that we are right? What is he trying to do here? This is what we mean by non-dualism. And non-dualism is a Western term. We have Dvait and Advait. And Dvait and Advait both are coming from Hindu philosophy. Buddhism, when we talk about Buddhism, you cannot mix the philosophies. There's a copyright stuff with these things, right? But you can have the same thoughts. So it's something like that. So Hinduism has copyright a lot of things, but most of the things, they came from other cultures of Indian background. So some people may not have the copyright for these things, but the origin was them. It's something like that. All right.
It had been there, but it had not been prominent. It had been, the equal of other. Blake saw it coming and was warning. Warning signs had been sent up by other people, but it hadn't really got traction until this point.
Mhm.
In the really big way, there had been some materialistic people before who had great power to instantiate it. Like Sir Francis Bacon.
Okay, I've wasted enough time. I think this person is going to glorify himself by bashing the things, lacking all the understanding on these things. So let's just jump toward the end and let's see what he has to espouse here. Then we'll wrap up.
Because this might help then people realize that there is a culture worth fighting for, and you're not just going to sit back and be overrun by some, medieval religion that's arrested back in the 7th century.
So yeah, he has just proved his ignorance here, complete and total ignorance. So tell me one thing: things that have already been established, things that are older than the same thing, and in post-modern or modern society, they repacked that same idea with some Heidegger or this and that. If he's claiming that German is his background, we also have roots with Germanic backgrounds, believe it or not. So clearly this person is missing the mark. Clearly he does not understand what non-dualism is. Clearly he's glorifying it out of his narcissism and bashing the other thing, when other thing that he do not even study, or he did not even study, or he's hiding it, and he's full of himself. Clearly he's lacking the main point here. So this thing, the whole entire thing, number 9, the Western vocation, the Western contrarium versus Eastern non-dualism, this is garbage. Throw it in the dustbin and walk away and go study what Buddhism is saying. All right, don't go for his words or his face value something. Match the claims. Don't be lazy anymore. As long as you're lazy, such people will thrive on these things. All right, they will always keep you blinded or half informed or misinformed, or they will project something or induce some hatred something toward other cultures, other stuff, just because they carry their personal grudges against these things, or something is going on with these people clearly. So if you value knowledge, if you value truth and real understanding, and want to make things more direct and reduce suffering and all stuff, go study things from the original sources. No doubt you can study from Heidegger or this and that. I also study from there. Being from East does not mean that we are living in some shell and we are just pouring that thing stuff here. We are open, but we are saying that we also had this thing way before you people. We are not bashing you unless you cross some boundaries. So clearly, if you are going to run your mouth too much, we are also going to put you back to your place. It's simple as that. These people, they don't understand this thing. All right. So they were wrong in the beginning, and they are wrong still, and they are misinterpreting and representing these things on purpose. All right. Like Thomas Edison, and your Nikola Tesla, ACDC, right? So Tesla, your Edison, he had to electrocute the elephant just to make a theatrics to smear and this Tesla's work. So these people have that mentality still, like I've explained in the older parts. So I should stop here. I'm not wasting time for this idiot. I'm not going to waste any. Like, since something exists already, it has two versions. So his version is best automatically somehow. What a joke. All right, let's stop here. Thanks so much.